Hello, dreamers. If I was famous enough to have a cult following, I assume that's what they'd be called. Dreamers or sleepyheads, maybe. Anyway, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube and iTunes, and follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Livin the Dream 506. But most importantly, keep listening and let me know what you think. My guest today is the bass player for UMPHREY'S McGEE and Doom Flamingo and Baysik and Omega Moos and The Hazards. He's killing it in all directions. Please give it up for Ryan Stasik. Ryan Stasik, bass player of UMPHREY'S McGEE, Doom Flamingo, Baysik, Omega Moos. What else you got on the go?
That's pretty much the full platter for now.
Nice.
Oh, The Hazards. I got a punk rock band with the guys from
Right.
The Hazards, and coronavirus canceled our first punk rock show. So how punk rock is that? You plan and announce your first show and it gets canceled from a virus.
I mean, one step further would have been to actually play that show, but it is definitely punk rock.
It's very true.
So how you doing, man?
I'm doing very well. You know, all things considered, my family and I are very positive and making the most of this. It's been very much a blessing to be home, and I have a 2-year-old. She just turned 2 during the quarantine, and I have a 6-year-old daughter. So my 2 girls and my wife, we've really been enjoying the time that we have together. Homeschooling, doing a lot of music, arts and crafts, and trying to find that balance and keeping it sane.
Yeah, if you're anything like me, my homeschool regimen has been a lot more arts than it has been traditional, for
100%.
sure.
100%.
My young fella's 9 years old, so we've really kind of leaned into guitar lessons and sports, even like pool and hockey and stuff like that, right? So it's kind of fun, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, being in Charleston, besides today with all the rain, the weather has really cooperated for us to be outside and in the backyard. They did close down the beaches, which I understand. That was a rough one for that when they first turned them down, because we were out there every day, and very much following social distancing laws. And I mean, the beach is big enough to do that. But my 6-year-old, you know, she can ride a bike now, so she's going crazy, riding a lot of bike rides, a lot of walks, trying to stay active so it doesn't turn into screen time or even their homework is on an iPad, but you can get distracted with the screen time for that. So we do a lot of projects where we'll make her read the instructions. As a first grader, reading is a big thing now. And then we'll bake a pie, or she'll do make tie-dyes, and then we keep the fun part and the fun aspect there, so she doesn't get 6-year-olds have they can turn on you pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's the outlook like with all this happening in like the music industry and stuff? Like, what's your opinion on it? And like, have you heard anything or have any predictions?
I mean, I'm in the same boat as everybody else, but I don't have any expertise in this. I'm an optimist in general, so I'm preparing for the worst, but I'm hoping and optimistic that the school year, the end of August, the beginning of September, when school starts up again, and the end of summer's hitting, that maybe we'll figure out a way that we can have sports, we can have social gatherings, we can have live concerts, we can have kids at school, we can safely go to the airport and travel. We can get back to some sort of normalcy, only when it's safe, you know, and everybody says that that is the right move. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. See, with sports, it's kind of different because a big part of sports is just like watching it on TV and stuff. But a lot of the live music aspect is having that crowd to really fuel the music. So I'm wondering, like, sports are already talking about coming back to empty stadiums. Is that a logical approach for music, like kind of like a KEXP sort of thing, and just kind of broadcast it? Or do you think it'll wait until there's actually a crowd?
Well, I don't understand how, if you're going to open up a music venue, how is a band going to go to an airport and travel? I mean, airports have, O'Hare Airport has thousands of people going through it every day. So how are you going to say you can't go to a music venue, but you can walk down terminals and gates and security? So I just, there's so many facets of leaving. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
I start going down these holes where they're like, well, you can do that. You can stream, you can play here. Well, what about travel? I mean, sports teams obviously can probably have a private jet, and they can be tested, and they have the money and funding to be able to do that and stay ahead of the game. But you can't on the road and fly to another city. We all live in different cities. How are we supposed to go play a venue in Colorado and then have it be empty, but still have the workers and then travel? I just don't know about the logistics. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. If regulations do start to soften and like 100-person gatherings, 200-person gatherings start to slowly creep back into our existence, you guys think you'll start touring and just playing smaller rooms, intimate venues?
First and foremost, if it's healthy and it's been legally, you know, deemed by the government that we're allowed to do those things, then absolutely. But I know we're never going to jump ahead of what we feel is safe for people. So if that's okay, absolutely. I mean, we don't want to be stuck at home, not playing live music. I was watching it's funny, last night, my 2-year-old doesn't know what my wife, Mary Welch, and what I do for a living. I mean, she just turned 2, you know,
Right.
She's just having fun and around. So I turned on this YouTube stream of the guy, Michael from Guitar Gate, where he teaches lessons,
Yeah.
but he reacts to his first show. And I thought it was a hoot. I was like, my 6-year-old's been on YouTube and she watches kids comment. I guess that's a thing. Like, people watch things. Who knows?
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, this is Daddy's concert, and this is a guy watching it for the first time, and these are his reactions. And then I had both my kids next to me, and he was sitting there, and it was great. It was very. I enjoyed it thoroughly, but I also enjoyed watching our show, man. And I realized how much I missed playing. And he said, he's like, so who wants to go see a show right now? And part of me, you know, just started to tear up a little bit, and not sad, depressed tears, just happy tears of being like, man, I love playing live music for people. I love being out there touring and being able to do this. And I know how much people love going to see live music, as do I. And it just made me think, I was like, oh man. However, I was not stuck. I was sitting there with both my daughters next to me, and my little one being, Daddy, looking up at the screen and kind of seeing that I'm up on TV. And it was a special moment, whether it's, you know, I'm staying positive, but it was just interesting to see. It's bittersweet, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely get that. If it drags on too long, do you think there's a possibility that you guys all drive to the studio and have a little band retreat?
I mean, we're already doing that. I woke up, today's my work day. I get Mondays and Wednesdays. My wife gets Tuesdays and Thursdays. We try to balance out, helping each other out. And this morning, since 9 a.m., I've been laying down bass lines and drum loops, and I'm sending them over to Chris and Jake later this afternoon. So we're doing that. We're getting things done remotely from home. Everybody has a DOS system, and we're getting better. Some of us are better at it than others. I'm on the back end of the slow learning curve here. So it's really fun, because I'm finally learning how to use Ableton and get into it. So new music, I don't think is going to be a problem when we are able to go to the studio. 100% we're gonna do some retreats, and we're gonna figure out ways to get there. We had booked studio time in Nashville, which is most likely canceled due to this and travel. So that is definitely in the forefront of our, in our future.
Yeah. And you guys just released Easter in Quarantine.
But
yeah. That was just Jake and Brendan. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Jake,
Yeah,
Jake has a studio in Niles, Michigan, where he lives off of his parents' place. And Jake he plays every instrument perfect. I mean, the guy's a virtuoso. It's really great. He even busted out the sax. And he had laid down that ballad, and he sent it to Brendan, and Brendan came up with the melody and the vocals, and the two of them popped it out, and it was sent to me finished. So I got it finished. I was like, this is beautiful. This is awesome. Sent it back. It's like, great job. And then we talked about, how every person in the band is trying to stay positive and push out content and keep being musical as UMPHREY'S McGEE. I know Brendan does streams on Fridays. Joel does them on maybe Wednesdays. Farrag's at home doing art and making beats. Chris and I are trying to learn our Pro Tools in Ableton and send each other tracks. And Chris has been doing some videos of drums. And I've been talking to the Doom Flamingo guys. We're working on new music. And then we're teaching lessons. A few of us are teaching lessons too, which has been super positive.
Nice. Yeah, you guys have always been really known for ingenuity, and I mean, like with bowl and headphones and snow cones and just cool ideas that you guys always bring for the fans. Is there any new ideas that have been kind of birthed during quarantine that you guys are working on?
I mean, we're always having those nights of the round table meetings and throwing as much art and idea at the wall and seeing what's going to stick. There's definitely a little bit of a scare that if this does, like, hypothetically go into late 2021, we need to figure out how to pay our bills, and how to keep a business from sinking and never coming back. We worked hard for 22 years to do this. There's no ideas that I could tell you right now that are in the forefront of working, but we're trying. I mean, the live lessons masters with that Mark Brownstein and our friend Alicia started. We've been diving into that, and just I mean, the main part is staying sane, keeping the sanity there, keeping my marriage and my children and that relationship. I mean, all these relationships, it's pretty new for us UMPHREY'S guys too, because we leave so much. And then when I was in these other bands, I was leaving even more. So it kind of was a nice reset button to say, hey, really enjoy this time with your wife and kids and find that balance. So we're trying to do that. And right now, I think that's where we're at. And then as we stay home longer and quarantine longer, maybe there'll be more ideas for us to break out as a group with UMPHREY'S, but we're just staying the course.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned being at home with your family. Tara Gracer sent a question in and said, do you have any advice for being the only man in a house full of amazing women?
I don't have any advice. I definitely don't have any advice. I think maybe I do. My best advice is keep your mouth shut. That's usually the best.
That's for any household.
That's for any husband or dad.
Yeah.
Sometimes you really just got to give yourself that 3-second barrier of being like, whisper that to yourself and then really think, does that need to be said? What's going to be the outcome of that response? So I think that's in any relationship, whether it's a marriage, your spouse, your lover, your kid, fuck your dog, who knows? Just anything. Maybe sometimes it's better to just roll with the punches. But I'm loving it, man. I really am loving it. The 2-year-old she's feisty as hell. It's super fun. You're always on your toes. I can't really leave her alone for 2 seconds because she will find trouble. So Mary Welch and I are really balancing that. Our 6-year-old, and because of the 2-year-old, is very independent and can do most things by herself if we tell her to and follow up. So she's a huge help and a great big sister.
Nice. Is she into the bass or drums? I've heard you say she just got a drum lesson.
Yeah, I brought her up last night again. I have let's see if you can see it right here. I got a little pearl set over here.
Beautiful.
And missing my cymbals. They never made the move. I don't know what happened to them in the move. So they're somewhere. So they're sitting somewhere. So she learned "We Will Rock You," and we're getting her timing down. You know,
Right.
how to hold the sticks. She keeps begging me. She's like, "Can we FaceTime Chris? Can we FaceTime Chris? I want a drum lesson." But her favorite thing is vocals too. So Kanika Moore, the lead singer from Doom Flamingo, I recorded her singing one of her little original songs, which maybe we'll write some original punky tunes while we're in quarantine too. See, that's a lot
Nice.
of like you were saying before, you're going off from the curriculum and doing your own thing. It's leaning toward arts. I'm a firm believer that is getting things done and being productive and using the artistic side of the brain. So vocals and drums, she's into. Her hands are kind of small, so I have a bass and a guitar for her, but she's just not really ready to, I might have to give her the ukulele first. But Mickey is definitely going to start off on drums because she likes to beat the shit out of things. So
Nice. You also mentioned the live lessons, the thing that's going on. My buddy Dan Herco, shout out to Dan. Actually, he makes custom Humphreys frames. He has his business Herco's Handmade.
Yeah.
So he does the custom framing. He does crazy work. He wants to know what can he expect from his upcoming bass lesson with you.
He knows. I've been talking to him on the sides for what to prepare. My main goal in teaching the lessons is I want to make sure that whoever is taking the lesson, that whatever they want to learn or whatever they want to do, that I'm able to provide something that works for them. You know, I don't want to talk the whole time and say, here's the C major scale and we're going to go up the Moos and just teach them and go and do it. I mean, that's great. That's to learn, but I don't want to talk the whole time. I want to figure out where that person is musically, what they're into, what they're struggling with, or if they want to just pick my brain and see how I react or think. A lot of my lessons have been around improv and making bass lines creative and getting out of like a rut or the same box and playing with Humphreys. I mean, 30% of the night is improv. So, you know, I've been with those guys for over 20 years and some of it comes very natural for us. So it's fun to teach just some of the tricks and secrets of what we do and how to make that easier to use in their own band or jamming and just starting there. It's not as it's definitely not like a Berkeley bass master's course. I'm more trying to share what I know and what I can teach. So they come away with learning more about their bass and definitely having a positive and fun experience as well.
Yeah. So as another aside, my son Michael, he had 3 great questions for you. So he just wanted to say hey, and
yeah,
he wants to know what your favorite chord is, what's your favorite riff you've ever written for Humphreys, and what's your favorite Humphreys song.
All great questions. All great questions. The favorite riff that I've written just happened this morning that I'm going to send over to the guys. And maybe that's just because I like new stuff. And that'll definitely segue into my song to play. Really, there isn't one. It's my mood. It's my reaction to where I'm playing, who I'm playing for, how far away the people are when I'm playing. I prefer those smaller clubs where there's no barrier and I can smell people and you can see the spit coming back and you could, I could touch them if I wanted to. Like that kind of intimacy and vibe calls for a different energy with the song. Sometimes I have to play Wizard Burial Ground and I love it because I want the heavy, fast stuff. But sometimes something like Upward or Hajime Mashite, where the vocals tend to take more of a front seat for me, and the bass line is doing what it's supposed to do in simplicity and play its role. And then I can do that with such, feeling and muscle memory that I'm able to go out and experience what the fans are experiencing or how maybe the guitar or drums or vocals are affecting the people in the crowd, and I can relate to that. So I don't really have a favorite song. I do like playing some that we don't get to play too often. I enjoy busting those out just because it's new and it can be challenging when you don't play them for a long time. I'm sure that our first show back is going to be pretty challenging in general because we're going to be so rusty that we haven't played with each other. And what was the third question? I think I got 2 of them there.
favorite chord?
Favorite chord? Man, that's a good question. I don't know if I have one. Let's just go with an E major 7 right now. Just the pretty on a bass. We'll say that upper register. Your 1-3 major 7 right there. I like that.
I can't remember. We had Joel on the show last summer, and I feel like that might have actually been his answer too.
An E major?
I think
Really?
so. I don't want to don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure.
I would have guessed a C major for Joel.
It was Michael's favorite question is to find out what everybody's favorite chord is. So
that's really cool. That's really cool. Mine is definitely not as, I'm sure if you asked Jake, he would have a much more complex answer for his chord, but there's just something pretty about that major 7 up high on a bass.
So you talk about liking being able to smell the crowd and stuff. Is that your background, like punk and metal? Like, is that your roots?
All right, well, let's dig into it. When I was born, my parents weren't huge record collectors, or I didn't come home and it was always new music spinning and stuff. My dad listened to oldies and Motown. He had Zeppelin and Beatles records; they were there, and then my mom had all the '80s collections too. So I remember spinning 45s of Foreigner and Hall & Oates, and that was what was around. So when I started discovering music myself, it was going to the bus stop and having a Walkman and seeing what my friends were listening to. And my friends, I remember Michael Jackson. My first cassette tape was Prince Purple Rain, and then We Are the World, I think right around there. And then I got into Aerosmith and Run DMC and the Beastie Boys. And then when I moved from Pittsburgh, where my entire family moved, up to Michigan, it was just us, I met all new friends, and it was just like starting over, like a reset button. And that's when I met Guns N' Roses, or Guns N' Roses was introduced to me. And that was like life-changing, because I was like, man, I like dangerous rock and roll. That's me right now. This is what I'm drawn to. And then living in the late 80s and early 90s in Kalamazoo, Michigan, bands were touring arenas. I mean, that everybody was still playing arenas, and Kalamazoo is right in the middle of Detroit and Chicago. So on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you get all the hard rock bands, and they would stop in Kalamazoo. So I would go out on school nights, saying I was going to study group, and I'd be going to see Nirvana, or I mean, everybody, Smashing Pumpkins, Pantera, hundreds of times, the Meat Puppets, White Zombie, Henry Rollins, Beastie Boys, Lenny Kravitz, Black Crowes. Like, all these bands were just always coming, and it was great. But I gravitated more towards the heavier stuff. But I had an appreciation for what my other friends liked in music. Like, I wasn't a hip hop guy, but I loved all Tupac stuff, Me Against the World record and stuff. I really got into the bass lines, but I wasn't a bass player then. And then when I moved to when I went to South Bend for school, I started seeing Fish. I always loved the Grateful Dead because of the people I hung out with in high school, even though I liked the heavy metal stuff with Iron Maiden. And then I got into, improvisational music. And I think seeing Fish so much, I was really into it's college. You're an 18-year-old hippie running around the country, seeing an awesome band and hanging out. I mean, the scene was awesome. It was a part of my life. And then when I picked up a bass, I really started digging deep into bass players. Jaco Pastorius changed my life. I was like, wow, how did I not know about this? How come nobody showed me this, right? I had not discovered this when I was young, and then I went down that hole. And now I love everything. And I try to push stuff on my kids, but I want them to like whatever they like too. Amelia's 6, so if Punky wants to spin some records, I let her pick it out, and I'll open my mind and listen to it too.
So you saw Nirvana back in the heyday.
Yeah.
What year did you see them?
It was In Utero tour, so that had to be 93.
Just perfect timing.
Yeah, it was the year before he died.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was grounded. I had a sharp tongue in my high school years, and my mom would take away privileges, and I lied and said I was going to a study group, and I went to the concert, and I'm okay with that lie, because It was awesome.
How big was the venue that you saw them in?
Kalamazoo Wing Stadium is Humphreys has actually played it a couple times. It's a minor league hockey arena.
Oh, nice.
So maybe 10,000, 15. Not sure.
Nice.
I mean, I was on the floor. I was crowd surfing. I played high school hockey. I was into physical contact.
Right.
And if you're in the pit at a Pantera show in the 90s, there's some physical contact going on. Now I sit up in the bleachers,
Yeah.
and watch.
So yeah, man, you saw some crazy shows back in the 90s then, eh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you played hockey. Do you still play any sports? Do any pickup stuff, or do you even have time for that anymore?
If I can get some ski days in, I grew up skiing, so I'll ski. If we're on the lake and there's some scurfing, that is how I broke my pinky though, so I need to be a little more careful with that. I don't play any like pickup hockey leagues or anything, but I've always been into sports and maybe now it used to be kickball. Kickball was my go-to, but I had to retire.
Yeah, I remember that. I was at a couple summer camps with that.
Oh yeah, always a good time.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. As a sports fan, do you have any pre-show rituals or superstitions that you stick to?
For Humphrey shows or for my teams?
Yeah, for Humphreys.
I mean, I do. What I try to do, I'm better when I have a routine, even at home. So on the road, I'm trying to be healthy when I wake up. Either at the bus is always at a hotel, so you try to get some sort of workout or hot tub dip in or some sort of exercise. But I like to get to the venue early and set up my own little pone zone, my little station, so I can warm up on the bass, go through some daily exercises and get ready for sound check. So my rituals there are kind of like to get that focus, get to the venue early and kind of get the vibe, the be backstage. And from there, there's a small window because you sound check, then you have to eat, and then you either get a dad nap or you keep practicing before rehearsal, and then there's rehearsal, and then there's the show. So there's a lot going on. It's not a lot of free time besides your dinner. So the ritual is mainly get up, try to be healthy for a little bit, and then get to the venue and get my zone there and warm up.
Yeah. And your intro to Jam, you said, was Fish. So how many times did you see Fish back in the day?
Oh man, from 95 to 90, well, I guess all the way to when did they quit? When Coventry was 04?
2004, yeah.
Yeah, majority of my shows were 95 to 2000 because Humphreys started touring in 2000 pretty heavily, so I wasn't able to, even though I think we played in the late 90s, we played at Deer Creek after a few Fish shows in the campgrounds.
Nice.
So I feel like it's over 50 for sure, but majority of them were 1995 to 2000.
So that's what kind of sparked your interest into like the improv jam game? Well,
I don't know. I met Brendan Bayless at Notre Dame, and he didn't have a guitar, so I gave him my guitar. I actually have it right here. The guitar I gave him. I said, "You can take this, my black and gold Les Paul," and
nice.
I gave him this little PV amp, and he was really into Fish, like really into Fish, and we had similar taste with classic rock and our love for Guns N' Roses and Snoop Dogg and those kind of things. So there were a lot of similarities there, and we were vibing. I was like, okay, I could make music with you. So we just started jamming, Grateful Dead, Fish, that kind of improv, just really taking chances and playing for our same 5 drunk friends, repeating a lot of the same songs over and over again,
right?
Daily. But that's what started it. I didn't grow up a jazz guy or get deep into other bands that were improvising that way. It was more the jam band scene.
Yeah. So then I saw you guys in 2009 when it was your birthday show when Mike Gordon went up for In the Kitchen.
Oh, in Vermont.
So that must have been Vermont, right?
Higher Ground, yeah. That was awesome. That must
have been a pretty cool experience for you.
It was totally cool, and he's a cool guy. We've hung out a few times, but that was pretty special. Got to play my bass. Went up there, played like in the kitchen for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, something. That was pretty cool.
I was thinking about that too that night. I was like, it's cool that he sat in for Stasik, but like, was it different for you? Because you didn't actually get to play with him. So like, is the experience kind of different that way?
No, not at all. Majority of bass sit-ins, I do give my and go take a piss and hang out on the side and have a beer and watch. And I love that. I love that.
Right.
I think, and I'm all about two basses playing at the same time, but this tends to happen when you get two bass players up there. There always is like everybody stop and it's like a bass duel.
Right.
Or it's okay, bass solo, and I don't think anybody needs two bass solos back to back. No, I'm just kidding. But I mean, I've had a lot of bass players come up and sit in, and I am happy to give them the bass, the amp, the reins, and do it. Phil Lesh did it in San Francisco. Oteil's done it a bunch, and it's an honor to sit in the side and watch Oteil play and be like, wow. Look at the music he's creating from my bass. You know, this is awesome. So it's a joy for me to do that. But I've played up there too when we've done two basses several times as well. But it doesn't matter to me. It's fun.
Definitely fun. Is there any bass players out there that are still touring that you'd like to play with or have a sit in?
Oh, for sure. I mean, nobody's touring right now, so
yeah, true.
We'll just have to wait and see. You know, UMPHREY'S is. We're all about having people come up and jam and do sit-ins. I'd say drums and bass is probably the fewer amounts of people that have sat in with us, though. I'd say more guitar players and vocalists, or different instruments that aren't in UMPHREY'S band. But I mean, there's so many great players out there. It'd be too hard to start listing. Though I do. There were a couple shows that I got to see right before COVID-19 hit, and one was Garrett Sayers, the Motet, played here in Charleston, and he's one of my favorite. He's one of the best bass players out there. And I went to the show with Chuck, the bass player from Sturgill Simpson, because they were playing the next night. So it was a good bass player hang, all three of us getting down. And then I went and saw Sturgill Simpson play in Charleston too, which was I think their last show or second to last show, which is kind of crazy because I bought a tour t-shirt and there's about 25 dates on the back that never happened. So you think about like our Iceland shows, people have posters from Iceland and the show doesn't exist, right? So I have this Sturgill Simpson tour t-shirt, and the first like 10 or 12 dates were shows that played, and then the next half of the list is all, it just never happened. So it's very unique. You know? Yeah,
that is a weird situation with all that merch. It's almost like the runner-up in a Super Bowl t-shirt.
Yeah.
Send them overseas or something.
Absolutely.
You're always talking about how you're really a comedy guy. Who's some of your favorite comedians?
I think I'm funny. I don't know if anybody else does. My wife reminds me of that.
No comment.
So George Carlin, obviously from the very beginning. Greg Giraldo, Dave Attell. I love Bill Burr, obviously Chappelle. I like smart comedy too. I'm not a big fan of just insult and I feel like just straight insulting all the time, or where it gets to be mean. That's not my favorite type of comedy. I like a little more smart comedy, to be honest. But anybody, because I respect anybody going up there and just having a mic and being brave enough to do original material. Shit, I respect anybody going up there and just repeating jokes and just having the balls to do that. I mean, that's hard too. It's such a tough form of art to go up there and be like, all right, I'm going to make people laugh with this microphone. It's different than music, you know. And a lot of people say like rock stars want to be comedians and comedians want to be rock stars, and there's this whole cross-pollination with all of that. I mean, I've never done legitimate stand-up. I make notes a lot and been writing some funny dad bits, and I'll run them past my wife, and she's like, no, that is not funny. Just your timing and all of it, just delete. So
that's how you know it is funny.
Yeah, right. But I just enjoy it. I have well, when I used to drive. I have XM, the Netflix is a joke, and the 93, 94, 95. I got all the comedy channels on favorites, because when I'm not listening to music or sports betting, I'm listening to comedy, which is a lot.
Yeah, it sounds like you like the New York style comedy a little bit, like the East Coast genre, I guess you'd say.
I don't know. I like it all. I just like when, I like originality. I like when people are smart. I like I like it all. I like when people are super dry and they maintain it and they hold it. And I like observation comedy. I mean, I like raunchy, dirty comedy. You know.
Right.
I enjoy the roasts. I enjoy all the roasts, and
for sure.
The bumping mics with David Tell and Jeffrey Ross. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's where Geraldo actually used to really shine, was the roast. He was just,
man.
He was one of a kind. He was unreal. If I could make a recommendation, and not based on his personality or his recent accolades, but the new Louis C.K. special is phenomenal.
I'll check it out. Somebody sent me the link, but I just hadn't had time to see it. Is it
natural?
Where is it? Is it on Netflix? Is it on?
No, he released it on his own website. So you have to rent it or buy it on his website.
Sure. Okay.
Or find a stream that.
I like supporting the artists if they're going to be supportable. I know people get mad too, because there's a lot of stuff that has happened with a certain artists, and separate the art from the artist for now.
Right. Exactly. Michael Jackson. So
right.
If it does get to like the Wild Wild West scenario with art and stuff, like, do you think it'll get to the point where there's like underground shows, almost like underground gambling?
I don't know, and my gut says I hope not, because if it's not safe to do that, and we're not being smart because we're not thinking about others with common sense, then I don't want to be a part of that. But I mean, I'll be a part of an underground gambling game any day, because I don't think anybody's really getting hurt in that. I think just as long as people are being smart and we flatten this curve and make sure that have a solution, until we're there, the music will keep coming. It's just going to be interesting on how we receive it.
Yeah. So we got a few questions to finish up with.
Sure.
And then I'll let you get going. Boris Adamak wants to know, and we'll kind of assume everything gets back to normal. Can we expect another Woodlands?
I hope so. Yes. My answer is yes, but again, I'm not a soothsayer. I can't predict the future, but I certainly hope so. I love that venue. I love the people that own it. I love that it's here in Charleston. In that time of year, maybe not the time last year when we were in 30 degrees, but usually it's gorgeous down here in South Carolina. So I think it's got everything. It's got everything, all the ingredients for fantastic potential.
Nice. Jordan Pierce wants to know, how fast can you shotgun a Budweiser?
What's fast? Probably under 4 seconds. Is that fast?
I don't know. Let's see it.
Live demo. Some yeah, it's a little early to be shotgunning the beers, but I've been known. I'm gonna say under 5 seconds.
Beautiful. And Terry Racer wants to know, what's your keg stand record?
Oh God, you have to take me back to the days with Bayless. I think I got like a 39 or something, but I will be honest, it was kind of what it wasn't flowing as fast. So that you were a little sudsy was happening there. I think that helped, and the count might have been people might have been pushing the count a little bit there instead of staying on the beat. So it's up in the 30s.
So there's an asterisk against that record. For
sure. Steroids were involved. I honestly can't remember the last time I did a keg stand. It has to be, I don't even know. It's a long time. It's definitely a long time.
Long overdue. Once everything's back to normal, you guys will be keg standing mid-set.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know about mid-set. Maybe post-show. Right.
How many shots from Miro have you done since this quarantine started?
There's been an abundance of shots. I'm not gonna lie. I respect people's sobriety, and I'm not pushing alcohol on anyone. In all seriousness, I'm going to be honest too. My intake at home has definitely risen a little bit, but I feel like I'm being safe. I'll have the occasional Budweiser or beer, but I drink tequila on ice, and so my shots aren't. It's not me pouring them into a shot glass and firing them back. I'm just enjoying a fine sip of decent tequila. So there's been several. I've been thinking about Mikey a lot, to be honest.
Do you think that's part of the times, just kind of giving more people more time to reflect? And
well, I mean, I don't. If this wasn't happening, I wouldn't be watching Bayless on the internet or Joel on the internet, and stalking my bandmates doing creative things. Because when I would leave them, I'd be like, "All right, fuck you guys. I need to go home and be with my family for a little while." Oh wait, okay, we're back. Okay, I'll see you again. And now who knows the next time I'm going to see them in person? So I've been watching them and supporting them online, and I think that's definitely sparked the memories. And I do have several friends that send me old links of Miro playing and old shows that we've done. I see them, so yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you guys just streamed the Reel to Reel, which was another throwback, and it's a real like sentimental documentary, really. Like, I was in Denver for the debut, and like even in the live setting, it was bringing tears to my eyes, and like everybody around me was feeling the same way. It's a really emotional and powerful documentary. It's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't watch the stream, so I haven't seen it since the Colorado debut. Maybe I'll have to dive back into that late night.
Yeah, it was cool. Do you think Bayless will ever let you in on some of the streams?
No, I was this close on one of them, and I had called him before, and I was like, listen, I just want you to let me in an Instagram. I'll do a shot for Miro, and then you can let me go. But now he has moved to YouTube, and that's not possible. So he did play Let Me In for me. Is that John Lennon song?
Yeah.
It's John Lennon, right? So I did get a few requests out of those, but I was never graced or honored with being let in.
Right. Well, I will put this idea into your head, because they tend to always do the encores for Instagram. So there is the opportunity, if you stay up late enough, to be let in.
Yeah. He's on Central Time, and I have two kids that wake up at 6 a.m. no matter what. So that's where it gets a little rough. I mean, that's almost after midnight for me. But hey, you never know. Maybe it is Friday, right?
That's right.
Who do you even know the days anymore? I mean, today's Wednesday, right?
Yes.
See?
Yes, it is.
October.
So how many pairs of sunglasses do you have?
Can you see that right there?
Yeah.
Those aren't all mine. My wife, I have some of my wives up on there too. So a little bit of a sunglass hoarder, probably 50.
That's a good collection.
I have them in my guitar cases on the road, or bass cases, and I have about 4 different pair in the truck too, because you never know.
Nice. Is that mandolin and banjo on the wall?
Yeah. So
can you play?
Not very well. I have a beginner book here. My wife and she wants to start learning banjo, so we're gonna start plucking the banjo. The mandolin is missing a couple strings, so I need to restring that.
It's just for show.
It's got smaller frets, so I'm wondering if maybe Mary Welch Punky might get into that. The banjo is definitely going to come down. The Budweiser guitars, my buddy Mike Hattel gifted me the blue one with the Chicago flag, and then the red one, I walked into a pawn shop in St. Louis and saw it, and I was like, all right, what can I pawn off here to walk out of here with this? So I traded him some bass gear from the road so I could get that one, and it came in a coffin case, which is pretty cool. But I do try and give I got a lot of basses down here too. I do try and give them a lot of love. So I've been messing around. I've got pedal pods. These guys sent me these build your own pedal pods, and let me see if I can show you here. You see that?
Yeah.
So they sent me these pedal pods. So I built it and put it all together, and now I've got a little home pedal board. It's super clean. It looks great too, because you got the LED lights behind it if you want to light it up, or if you're playing on a dark stage or whatnot. So I'm hoping to use that for some Doom Flamingo stuff. So I'm staying busy up here, trying to mess around with bass effects and pedals, and most of my stuff is on the road, but the stuff here I'm trying to, as I'm recording bassline stuff, trying to experiment with different combinations and different sounds. And I do that in some of my bass lessons too. We get into techniques and effects, so it's not always just scales.
Yeah. What is your favorite pedal?
I mean, it's hard not to love an octave pedal. I have a buddy, Spencer Dorn, who works for a 3-leaf audio and makes amazing pedals. Unfortunately, all of those pedals are on the road. He makes envelope filter, octave pedal. He is sending one back to me now, a Chromatron, which I'm super stoked for its arrival so I can work on here. But I mean, right now I got to go with just an octave pedal is definitely my favorite pedal.
Nice. All right, man. Well, thanks so much for doing this. I'll let you get back to your crazy life, but live lessons, UMPHREY'S and Doom Flamingo.
Thanks, Chris. I really appreciate it, man.
Thanks a lot. This was awesome.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.